This April, Merely Roleplayers is launching Vigil: The Great Fire, the newest instalment of their ongoing supernatural mystery series. A demon of annihilating flame has been stalking the English market town of Sheridan since the 1850s, and in The Great Fire, it finally reveals its endgame. In time, everything burns. Vigil is Merely Roleplayers' epic supernatural mystery story powered by the Monster of the Week role-playing game by Michael Sands. It's a tale of the misfits and weirdos who step up to protect their neighbours from things that go bump in the night, after the government cuts their small town's official team of monster hunters. With a big rotating cast and a thoroughly English take on Monster of the Week, Vigil is Supernatural meets Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy. Scroll back through the back catalogue of Merely Roleplayers to Playtime Act 1 to catch up and meet all the characters before their luck runs out. A quick content note here before we begin this episode of What Am I Rolling? This episode's one-shot, The Between, is an unavoidably dark game. Murder, body horror, dark sexual themes, spiders, threats to children and animals, foul language, blasphemy, witchcraft and defiling corpses are all things that come up in this game on a fairly regular basis. If you have suspicion that these games themes are not for you, then this one-shot is probably not for you either, and that's perfectly fine. If you're not in the right headspace just now, please feel free to stop listening and come back if or when you're ready. Thanks again, and stay safe, my friends. Hello, and welcome to What Am I Rolling? A twice-monthly RPG one-shot podcast, hosted by me, Fiona. This is part 4 of our Between one-shot, so make sure you've listened to the first couple of parts before continuing on with this episode. To briefly recap, Nat, Strat, Helen and myself are playing residents of a place called Hargrave House, and it's our job to investigate and neutralize monstrous threats terrorizing the city. Threats that Scotland Yard won't or can't handle themselves. We're currently dealing with the case of the spider silk seamstress. Sir Richard Harlow, an ally of Hargrave House, has been found dead, hollowed out and wrapped in silk-like threads. Hargrave House has learnt that a fey creature in the guise of an alluring fashion designer is behind the murder. Can our hunters stop this creature before she claims more victims amongst the London social elite? Well, only time will tell. The Between is powered by the apocalypse, meaning its mechanics are inspired, in part, by Vincent and Meg A. Baker's Apocalypse World. It's also carved from Brindlewood, meaning the mystery mechanics and procedures are inspired by Brindlewood Bay. Jason does an incredible job of guiding us through the Between, going through the structure of play, explaining the different playbooks and moves, as well as being an excellent GM, so I don't want to dwell too much on how to play here, because frankly, he did such a great job, there's just no point in competing with it. The key thing to remember, though, is this. Whenever a player makes a move, they roll 2d6 plus a modifier from one of the 5 abilities. The 5 abilities are Vitality, Composure, Reason, Presence, and Sensitivity. Once they have rolled, they will check the result against the text of a move. If a move refers to a hit, it means a result of 7 or more. If a move refers to a miss, it means a result of 6 or less. Moves also frequently have success tiers, normally going in this order. Miss, 7 to 9, 10 to 11, and 12 plus. Essentially, the higher the result, the more successful the move was. A massive thank you to Jason Cordova, the game designer behind The Between, who ran the game as a special 2-part livestream for the WAIR Twitch channel back in January. This episode's audio was taken from that livestream and edited down ever so slightly to be more friendly for a podcast audience. But you can watch the original stream on the WAIR YouTube channel. I'll put a link to it on the What Am I Rolling website and in this episode's show notes. Many thanks to the cast of Merely Roleplayers for joining me on this one-shot. Merely Roleplayers is a podcast where theatrical people play role-playing games in the pursuit of maximum drama. You can find all things Merely Roleplayers at merelyroleplayers.com or search Merely Roleplayers in your usual podcast app. One last thing before we begin. Naturally, there are times in this one-shot where the players and myself, mostly myself, get the rules wrong or forget something plot-wise. Whilst we always endeavour to stick to rules wherever possible, at the end of the day, we all make mistakes, and what matters most is that everyone enjoys themselves. And with all that out of the way, let's get back to The Between.
Let's wrap the day phase. we're going to have kind of a longer Dusk Phase as you all hammer out your theory for what's happening with the spider silk seamstress. So let's move over into the dusk. You have.
I was gonna try and go to. I thought it was still earlier in the day because I was gonna try.
Oh,
and go to Violet
yeah. I know you want to go
Thorn's
see
place,
Violet Thorn.
Time.
Yeah, well, it's also just a matter of like, you have to imagine this like a TV show. Like in the TV show of our game, we don't see every single thing the characters do, right? Yeah.
Sure.
But you will have a lot of clues, and sacrifices have to be made right now. So
That's fine.
You have 9, in fact.
Yeah.
But Violet Thorn might figure into the solution, right? And to the resolution. Okay, let's do the quickening, first of all. Let's see if we have a werewolf to cope with as well, or whatever kind of were creature you are. You can choose either composure or sensitivity.
I mean, it's going to be composure.
Okay.
Oh my god, they both landed.
I'm going to put you at disadvantage.
Oh, really?
Because of the fight with the Sister Simula.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I currently have 2 5s.
Okay.
There's another. Can I lift this up without knocking them? I had 3 5s.
3 5s. Whoa.
That's an 11 total.
So, are you taking it with composure or sensitivity? Because I think it doesn't matter either way.
With composure, it's 11. With sensitivity, it's 10.
Very good. So you're good to go. You're very vitality infused for the night move or for the night phase.
As the night closes in, all of the places where the needles had pricked Rose and the tattoo that she drew on herself, there is a moment where she sort of is braced against like a chest of drawers or something, and all of those minuscule wounds push back out as if needle-like thorns are pushing back out of her, and then she grimaces and they all back in.
Love it. Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. Let's talk about Hargrave House. Let's paint the scene about Hargrave House. We've seen quite a lot of it today, but we'll see a little bit more right now. We did the trophy room last time, if I'm not mistaken. And so let's now go to the dining room. You don't all take meals together very often, but tonight is an exception. You are all going to have a meal, no doubt prepared by Granson, or at least served by Granson. What's on the menu? Everyone says one thing.
Well, of course, not necessarily the main course, but the pudding is Granson's special, which is just, when the cloche is lifted up, it's just looks like a grey brick. It's nutritious and delicious.
Oh no!
But does not look appetizing at all, and would serve it like. And when it's a slice, there's definitely with a knife, and it takes a little bit going through. It's a little bit solid, and it just sort of, as it falls off and plates get handed out.
Now I know why you don't take meals together very often. we're more of a dining out kind of scene.
Exactly. Grayson's grey brick dessert. So yeah.
Very good, very good. What else is on the menu?
Big old vat of roast potatoes. Partly because I've just been craving roast potatoes all day, and sometimes you have to bring a bit of yourself to the game.
Yes, I second that.
I said whiskey at the start.
Oh, didn't hear you.
Sorry.
Oh, whiskey, just whiskey? Whiskey and potatoes.
Great to have a whiskey course.
Granson's grey brick dessert doesn't look so bad now.
By the time you get there.
Yeah.
I think between the 4 of us, we can roast a chicken, right?
This image now of like 3 posh people and Granson just staring at an oven going,
oh. Yeah.
Rose only knows how to do it if it's on like a skewer over a fire.
Let's keep going with the Dusk Phase. Okay, so the next thing to do is to answer this question. Now, you have a lot of clues. You have a good number for all of the three. You don't have to use all of them, but for each clue that you incorporate into your theory, you get a bonus on the die roll. The die roll basically starts at minus the complexity, and then you add one for each clue that you work into it. And so that's sort of the goal here. And I usually like to kick this off by just asking if someone has a question they want to focus on and what they think is going on.
I think I have something for the third question. I think what does the creature truly want? Just to clarify, so when I'm sort of theorizing, can I include as many clues as I want, or just one clue?
Absolutely, yeah. You can start just like building your case. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm only going to use one clue just now, just because thing. But the book itself, the book of fairy tales bound in blue leather, the comments and annotations are around a specific story, which, when looked at in great detail, it's not very long, but it's one that most children know. It's the woman who swallowed a fly, and obviously each iteration she swallows a fly, and then she eats a spider, it carries on until she dies. But in this one, with the annotations, there's definitely scribbling out and stuff like that, and it seems like the word spider takes over the woman, and every other creature that the woman tries to eat, the spider eats, to the point where the spider becomes the woman in some way.
It's very interesting. Well, what do you suppose this hints at what Spider Silk Seamstress wants?
I suspect this is sort of assuming that the language, the writing, the handwriting, apologies, belongs to Miss Beaumont. I think this is her sort of manifestation of what she truly wants. She wants to be a part of our society. She is a fae. She is this monstrous creature, and yet all she wants to do is embody these beautiful dresses, be someone of importance, like a lady of high importance, a seamstress. And seeing these people wearing outfits that she can easily make, she wants to be a part of that in some way. So maybe embodying and creating that sort of like outfit for herself in some way, maybe finding people or parts together.
I like it.
Playing the severed hand, if she's collecting parts to study people closer, and
that's good.
and the mannequins. The jar of herbs, patch of human skin, spider husks could be some sort of sort of spell components that are working a charm to help keep the human flesh and the spider together.
I think that jar, that was her experimentation, and whatever herb that is, that's what she was trying to buy in bulk from the apothecary.
Right.
And that's the component that is missing so far. I also wonder whether the moths, like, she's trying to leave the Fey world and join the mortal realm, doesn't seem like a thing that the fair folk would be particularly happy with, particularly those in high Fey society. So I wonder whether the moths that have been coming in are actual, like, these are Fey creatures that have been trying to like hunt her down so that they can send someone after her. Maybe even the jaguar that Jonas dispatched wasn't even sent for him.
It wasn't for you. Yeah, it was for her. That's interesting. Yeah.
Perhaps the green light is a way of kind of combating or shrouding herself from the in her den, a protection thing.
They can't see her if she's in the green light. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I had a theory about the green light that maybe, because we saw the red glowing eyes, perhaps her enchantment, her illusion is good, but that's the one thing you can't hide is the dashes of red behind the eyes. Whereas if we've not actually met her in human form, we've only seen these red glowing eyes. So perhaps when she presents herself to other people to disguise that red, that's why she needs it to be in a green lit room, because it counterbalances the red. So they just look dark instead.
There was a description of her very early on about her wearing layers and layers and layers until she's almost like a ball. So even when she's out, very rare occasions she is out, she's completely covered. So maybe she can be her true self in this green light and feel more safe as a result of that. Yeah.
I love it. I mean, this is a fair number of clues already incorporated, so that's great.
Got 7.
I think the only things that I've not ticked off are the Rose's tattoo spiking and the thornline burst.
I had a thought on that. When you mentioned it, you talked about how you actually didn't you actually draw lavender on the web?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what
The
was
lavender.
it was the lavender. Yeah. Maybe the lavender is maybe that's the missing herb. Maybe that's the one she needs great big amounts of. Right. And that also explains her interest in Sylvia Belrose. Maybe there's something, since that's her fragrance of choice. I don't know. But that was my thinking on that it was the lavender that was important.
Right.
And I think that would work if we consider lavender is such a very I was going to say old person thing. It's not just an old person thing, but it's used in all these different things and it's quite a high premium. So
it's a strong cloying smell, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it would make sense for if she wanted to get into that higher status, that society, she would want that and use that as a manifestation bonding element as well.
I've got one for the suit if we're allowed to do all 9, or do we stop it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cool. So with the suit, following on the thread of actually it's her that's under threat from Faye assassination, I think this is, although it was intended to be delivered to Jonas, it wasn't intended to harm him. I reckon back in their history, the Hearts cleverly assassinated a Fae creature with some sort of making a gift of a suit that then turned in on it. And although Jonas probably has no idea, Grenson certainly has read the diaries of all the Hearts and will have picked on that straight away. And this is just a little nod to I'm in threat. I'm not after you. Yeah,
it's kind of a nod to it's like a message essentially.
Yeah, something that only a Heart should know, except really Grenson.
You don't know, yeah.
I'm sure I'll take credit.
Yeah. I think you'll be told while you're drinking whiskey and eating grape sludge pudding. So it's assumed someone will have showed you that at some point.
Here, I point at a diary I pull out of my bag.
A roast chicken. This is great. So let's recap. So essentially, the basic question is being answered thusly: she wants to join the human realm. She wants to detach completely from the Fae realm, and it sounds like just kind of going through all of the clues here. The thing that kind of got you going down this path was, of course, the notes, the revisions to this book of fairy tales, this particular fairy tale. She's performing rituals to keep her in human form. That's what the jar of human skin and the severed hand are about, studying and rituals. The moths, and connected to that, the jaguar, are the Fae court's attempt to get her back or to stop her. Lavender plays a really important role in her ritual. We'll say that was something that was part of, that's what she was trying to get large quantities of. It also has a connection to Miss Belrose, and it also has a connection to the, I think the tattoo was just a sort of a sign, I guess. It was a, a sign from the spider silk seamstress that flower is particularly important. And then the green light is a really, really important one, because it is the only way she feels protected in this form, is when she appears like this. Otherwise, parts of her, especially her red glowing eyes, become much more visible, and that puts her in danger. And then just to put a fine point on the thorny suit for Jonas Hart, why might she have been trying to tell you that, Mr. Hart? And how does that connect up to her wanting to stay human?
I think that was probably the smartest, most devious way a Heart has ever killed an adversary. And Jonas was in her lair, right below her. I think it's her saying, I let you go, but I know how to. I could have killed you out in the open. I sent the sisters to assassinate you. I could have just given you a suit that killed you without like I have 100 ways I could have dispatched you by now.
So let's strike a deal.
You live.
Yeah.
So my intention is not to
Okay.
kill.
Yeah, that's good. That's the invitation to strike the bargain. Very good. Helen, did you want? I don't want you to feel left out. Did you have anything you want to add, or just
no? That was really fascinating to watch the three and the four of you to sort of paint the picture with together. Everything. Yeah. I was thinking a bit about the symbolism of her making the what looked like the Fae court. It could have been a Fae court, but it could have just been like a human's party as well, that she was
exactly. Well, exactly. You misinterpreted it, right? Yeah.
I feel like there's a potentially, we're not 100% sure what that is, but there's a couple directions it can go. Sorry, Fiona, I can see a thought.
I thought it's coming is because you remind me, because obviously the echo we had is obviously of somebody looking in at all these different places. This is obviously the Browns Hotel one, and wanting to be a part of something more and taking bits and pieces.
That's great. Yeah.
So
I love thematic connections.
I'm just having a little brain explosion here going, we've discussed this last night in some detail.
We've echoed the echoes.
I know. Whoa.
Too bad you can't get an experience point today for it, right? It was very good, though. No, that's why I wrote this game. That's great. All right. I love it. Okay, so you have a theory. Fiona, you took point on that, so why don't you go ahead and roll? You have 9 clues incorporated, so that's a +1 on the roll.
Okay. What? Oh, I see.
What? Okay.
I'm just like, my brain's worked really hard here. But no, okay, I'm sorry, I'll be good.
No, it's okay. Okay. So, all right. Okay, so I rolled a 7, +1 is an 8 total.
8. All right. So what that means is you're correct, but it will either be a very hard bargain or you will have some kind of tough challenge in either reaching her or making the bargain. There's a complication, essentially. If you had gotten a 10, it would be a really straightforward thing and you'd be able to resolve this pretty neatly. Now, the only way you can bump up your result as you would normally do with the Janus mask, but for answer a question, everyone has to put on a mask in order to bump it up. So that's on the table if you don't want to do that. But otherwise, 7 to 9 is still correct. It's just a fight.
I mean, I'm happy to put on the mask just so we get more flashbacks.
Yeah, I'd love to see more flashbacks with Rose and Eva. So yeah, 100%.
Everyone mark either the mask of the past or the mask of the future. And if you mark the mask of the past, you have to mark the first unmarked box. If you mark the mask of the future, it can be any you wish. You cannot mark the Mask of Glamour is already marked, and you all still actually owe me a scene of how when you first glimpsed into another world. But go ahead and mark your Janus mask as you wish. And we'll get to all that in a bit. So you have a 10+. You are going to be able to do this in a very straightforward way. So at this point, let's figure out what everyone wants to do during the night phase. Are you all going to her to make the deal, or are some of you going to work on the Limehouse Lurker, or something else? Maybe focus on one of your Dawn questions to make sure you get the experience point for it at the end.
I'm still wondering about going to we know that Violet Thorn hasn't been seen, and Sylvia might still be a potential victim. So, I mean, if we all think that she's definitely going to be at her shop, then we can go there. Or if we think there's an issue of going to find the next victim to stop it from happening.
I'd be willing to frame up the action, whatever the final confrontation is. I'd be willing to frame it up at Violet Thorn's home. Maybe they're having another private, fashion show or a little party or whatever. And Sylvia Barrows can send word to you about that. At least she's not on her own territory. So maybe that's why it's easy, because she's not. If she was like in her lair, it might be a tougher deal. Right? But in any case, who's going to go to her with this deal?
I think again, it sounds like a cop-out move, but Granson would do whatever Jonas Hart is doing, essentially. And I'm assuming, but I'm sure Strat will say otherwise, he might want to focus on the lurker rather than this. But I will leave it up to him. I'm not gonna. I basically Grandson will do whatever, will be with wherever Joe's heart is going.
I think a Fae is never more dangerous than when you're trying to strike a bargain. And the pull of the lurker is strong, but I think Jonas needs to go. Like a heart protects his own, so he's there if things get nasty.
Yeah,
and she's still got one of her sisters. They need to take a big gun as well.
Fair enough. I will follow.
I'm relieved to hear you say that. I'm happy to go kick as many vampire asses as you like after this, but I think this has got to be our priority right now. I mean, apart from anything, I think the other one might come and be a little bit upset at me for killing her sister. So
yeah,
kind of like
she may not care what deal you're striking with the spider silk seamstress. Miss Estrella, are you going to go with the rest of the group, or are you going to go have a night on the town?
I will come along. I would like to. Maybe she will be helpful, but I'm not convinced.
We'll see. I mean, who knows what could happen during the night phase? The night belongs to me. So let's go to the Janus mask. So everybody has marked Janus mask of various sorts. You all also have to narrate a little scene showing when your character glimpsed another world. If anyone's ready to do any of those things now, you can, or you can wait till the end of the session at the dawn phase. So it's up to you.
I can do my sun one. Not sun, sorry, the glamour one, sorry.
Or it's glamour, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I just because I was literally looking at the WAIR House one at the same time. Narrative flashback when they appeared through the veil and glimpsed another world beyond this one. So it would sort of flashback to that room again, the sort of circular lecture theatre, and you can see the older professors sort of packing up their bag, and they said, "Grandson, can you sew up the body?" And of course, without a word, Grandson starts doing it. It is an honour to sort of finish off and sew back up a body that the professor has used over the last hour or so. And as Grandson is sort of sewing up, she sees there's something inside, like sort of gleaming a little bit. And she looks around, and obviously the professor has left at the point that it's dark. The candles are sort of burning down a little bit. So she opens the body a little bit more, a little wider, maybe gets out some forceps or whatever just to open it a little bit. And she can see sort of straight through. And it's like some sort of foreign object. So she gets some gloves on and starts to sort of cut away at it, and sort of pulls out and puts it into like a little dish, a box, like a wooden box. And on it, it's sort of got vines and thorns and stuff. And it glistens ever so slightly with the sort of residue of the corpse that is on the table. And as she looks at it, it starts to sort of shift a little bit, and it sort of opens slightly, and she can see sort of through it. And on the other side, she sees like almost a glimpse of something like a bright light or like some sort of another room. And it's too quick. She thinks she sees an eye looking back at her, an eye with like iridescent sort of iris looking back, and it just shuts up and closes up, and then suddenly it starts to smoke and burns, and it just sets a light in her little tray and then goes away to nothing. And she sort of kept that to herself. She sort of packs up, finishes off the body and stuff, and leaves, and doesn't come back to the lecture hall for another week. So scared of what she saw and whether or not she trusts her senses, because it wasn't anything of the science world.
Nice. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have one for the glamour as well. So I think this happened in fairly recent history when Grandson was maybe just recently in Jonas's employ, on a hunt, tracking down a wraith through the streets of Whitechapel in London. And they're tricky bastards, wraiths. They can crop up anywhere. And Jonas had been on a bit of a binge, wasn't at his best, and the wraith managed to catch him off guard and briefly stop his heart, and he falls down. And in that kind of moment between life and death, as the kind of the veil between the living and the dead thins, and you can kind of poke through, there's a moment of kind of peace, and he gets glimpses of his ancestors, the whole Hart family going back through the generations, and there's a moment of relief, and then suddenly the images turn darker and become that of a hunt in a different world, and the chase and the blood, and a continuation of his life in death. And just as he's about to fall fully into that world, Granson has got something out of her doctor's bag and shoved it into his heart. A horrible, burning, tar-like substance courses through him, causing the scars that I have my sheet. And he just comes to, gasping, tears in his eyes, just muttering, "It never ends. It never ends."
Love it. Anyone else?
I don't know if this is cheating or not. I kind of have an idea to combine both the Mask of the Glamour and the Mask of the Future that I was.
You certainly can.
Both of them. Okay. So back when Rose was part of the traveling show, where she got her nickname Wild Rose, she was known for doing trick shots with her gun, but also being the tattooed lady. She had a dear friend who was something of a seer, used crystals and cards to tell the future, and for most people it was a bit of a charlatan and more telling them what they wanted to know. But as he was a trusted friend of Rose's, she'd spoken to him about her curse and what affects her sometimes, and they put their minds together. So one night they in his tent laid out a spread and got his crystals out, and she had the most tangible vision of another world. She was just instantly transported to this world that was dominated by plants. It was like lush jungle, flora everywhere, beautiful big flowers, no animals or any kind of humanoid style creatures in sight, but some plants walked and shuffled around, and some even occasionally would take on the form of legs to maneuver quicker and then dissipate into beds of thorns. And she walked amongst this as a creature made purely of thorns with the occasional flower on it. And when she returned to the tent with a gasp, feeling that visceral sense of this place, the smells, the sound, like the creaking sounds and the light, there was like a weird off-green sunlight. She awoke to find her good friend dead and covered entirely in bleeding pinpricks all over his body.
Nice, thank you. Helen?
This is my my glamour mask as well. When Eve was maybe 7 or 8, she was on the coast with her family, but had managed to slip away for an afternoon, and she's walking along the beach on her own, and she looks out and she can see a boat perilously close to the cliff edge. But below the cliff edge, there are rocks, and there are, she can hear the faintest music, and she can see these women on the rocks. As she watches, the boat hits something under the water and capsizes and then sinks. and the women just remain on the rocks, and Eve remains where she is. So this is the first time that she sees the extremity of how extreme beauty can lead people to destroy themselves.
All right, then. Let's go ahead and introduce tonight's Unscene. If you want to click over to London at Night, the Unscene, that tab on the sheet. Tonight we're going to do The Cult of the Pig, which is on line 41. A secretive cult dedicated to the pagan swine god Mok has gathered in a fashionable salon on this holy night to make offerings to their deity. Paint the scene. Prompt 1, everyone does that. Prompt 2 will be for Nat. Prompt 3 will be for Helen. And prompt 4 will be for Strat. The Cult of the Pig. Everyone, how has this otherwise sumptuously decorated salon been changed to make it a ritual space dedicated to an ancient pagan pig god?
In sort of a grotesque inversion of a kind of a butcher's yard, there are meat hooks suspended from chandeliers, suspended from anything that you can get. They aren't always occupied, but clearly all of them have. There's dried blood both on the hooks and congealed beneath them. And you get the feeling it's probably not pig carcasses that are put on these ones.
I don't know how many of you have seen the traditional carved gourd for Halloween. It's not a gourd. The traditional carving thing that you carve for Halloween is a turnip, and they are horrifying. And I think there's loads of those hanging around.
Oh. That's nice because pigs like root vegetables.
Well, exactly.
Nat, I just Googled it, and it is absolutely terrifying. I can't imagine.
Oh, yeah. Hold it up so people can see.
No. Google.
No, don't
Google your own.
Of your own choice.
Yes, yeah. Ugh. Horrid.
I think, as well as the terrifying gourds and the bits hanging around, I think the floor of the salon has been strewn with straw and hay and sort of like it's obviously it's people are going to be coming through and take their time, but it's sort of almost like setting the scene, setting what would be a pig's favorite sort of place, in the sense of having straw and having feed around. So there's that sort of musky smell of a farmyard, maybe a bit of manure in there as well, depending on how people are feeling, depending it's a special night. But definitely the straw and the heat. I think that's the thing. You feel the heat coming up from the straw and enveloping the rest of the salon.
I'm thinking that there's lots of candles on tables, and some of them are already set into circles, and some of them can be moved for making those.
Yep.
On the ground.
Pentagrams. Yeah, don't worry.
I was like, my brain's going to kill me. I can't say it. I don't have a pig connection for that, but rather a ritualistic
candles.
connection.
Yeah, you got to have candles.
Yeah.
So. Mm-hmm. Very good. It makes you wonder why they don't do all this in the barn, but rich, crazy people. Yeah, rich cultists in London. Who knows, right?
Jason, this is one thing about London. Londoners don't like going out of London to barns and farms. we like things that are close, so it makes total sense why they were dressed
very
in a
far away.
Also, Victorians, incredibly weird. I don't know. Like,
there you go.
They're so weird. Okay, let's continue with our scenes. Everyone's getting ready to go out to. I'm saying it's going to be at Violet Thorns, and you know this, and so you believe that's where you're going to be able to find the spider silk seamstress, and everyone is getting ready to go out to be this almost like a sort of diplomatic mission. And ring 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 ring, at the front door.
I will go.
Grandson, door!
Yeah, I'm already there.
Oh, no, you should let... Eve's been practicing her door opening.
Shut up.
I'll open the door. I'm still wearing my apron from dinner, which has got a bit of a burn mark on from our latest sort of grandson's dessert. So I open the door.
Indeed. There is a carriage driver, but he's dressed in like 18th century like garb, like powdered wig and long velvet coat, breeches, that kind of thing. And there on the square where the mansion is, you see that enormous carriage, grandson.
Oh no. Okay.
And the carriage driver says, I am here to speak to Ms. Eve Estrella.
Unfortunately, Miss Eve is not taking any more calls tonight. You can leave a message, or your patron can leave a message.
And at this point, the patron gets out. She looks similar as to when you saw her before, except she is dressed up for a night on the town. She's still wearing her blue sapphire choker, but she's now in like a kind of a elegant, like sort of long, slim gown that you might wear to the opera. Indeed, she has opera gloves on. And she says, I was hoping I might spirit Ms. Estrella away for the evening. I have an extra ticket to the opera, you see.
Well, I can inquire, but I must insist that she's not taking any further calls this evening, but I will inquire. Please wait here.
Indeed.
And I normally, obviously, I would invite them in. I don't. I shut the door. And obviously go and inform the three of them of this. And I would have, again, for speed's sake, obviously, hopefully told them all about the sapphire.
You can look out the window, Mrs. Estrella. This is a very posh ride to the opera. Extravagant, even.
I'm going to go.
Wait, hang on. This can't be a coincidence, right? The night we plan to make our move, the one person here that may actually stand a chance at negotiating with a fae is invited to an opera. Are we really going to believe this isn't entirely intentional on the part of whoever it is outside?
Fascinating that all of a sudden I'm useful, but
I don't believe you'll have ever heard me say anything to the contrary.
I don't hear you say much at all.
I wouldn't want you up front with a sword. But...
I definitely, because I'm stood next to Mr. Hart at this point, I will definitely stand on his foot when he says that.
Thank you, grandson. Of course, your evening is your own.
Oh, big news! Thank you. She's gone. She's walking away. She's going to her room. She needs to change her gloves and her jewelry. She's probably appropriately dressed but yeah.
Yeah, I think you're always probably opera ready, right?
What a moment.
We'll talk about how you look in a bit.
Now, hang on, Eve. You're not concerned about your associate, Violet Thorn?
I think if anybody is going to come to her rescue, it is you two.
Well, I don't know. We're pretty good at kicking up a fuss if needs be, but it sounds like we might be able to resolve this without ending it permanently, if you know what I mean.
I mean, or you could just continue to sweep everybody off their feet. That might work as well.
Well, you know, it works now and again. I don't think Miss Beaumont is after my line of questioning.
What time do operas finish? What is it? Can't be more than 1 hour.
I can be available again by midnight.
Seems like an appropriate time to deal with Faye. We let you go to your little opera and you meet us at what's her chops? That
Violet
acceptable.
I mean, I'll need collecting from the opera house.
Granson can collect you.
Fine.
Miss Estrella, of course, should you wish to go, then I would not wish to change your mind, and I will give to Miss Estrella the carven wooden trinket that was described earlier in the shape of a hyena. And I just give it to you and say, should you need it, you know what to do with it.
How do you pass it to me?
Oh, sorry, I will hold it out to you. I don't necessarily.
Yeah.
Hang on. Whoops, sorry, I forgot my station there. I will hold it out for you to take should you need it.
Okay, seeing as you're also desperately worried, I will take this small cat and she puts it.
I say that under my breath as grandson. I don't want to say it too loudly.
So it's okay, grandson. Not all of us can be as educated as you are.
Oh, I just didn't give a shit about what it was. I'm sure she'd have said that. Sure, that's historically accurate.
You don't see it, but grandson dies on the inside slightly.
Yeah, so she'll put that in her bag. That's okay.
Let's go back to the cult of the pig. Nat. Mock demands a sacrifice of riches. What does the cult offer him? Describe the manner of the offering.
These riches are the richest substance known to man, which is his own blood. I think Strat hit the nail on the head before when he said there's the large meat hooks hanging from where the chandeliers should be, and I think the sacrifices are strung up in the same manner that a butcher would a pig. But there are vessels, there are cups, goblets of all manners. Some of them a carpenter's cup. There are some that are wooden, and there are some that are bejeweled. And then there is a great like a gully in the stonework in the floor that resembles a trough that people can that it can drain into, that people can scoop with their chalices.
I have a sneaking suspicion you swiped Strat's sacrifice.
Okay,
I yes-anded it. Am I not allowed to yes-and it?
Oh no,
because I have a sacrifice of blood. That's my one. But it's okay. I can go with a sacrifice of flesh.
I love
if that's all right. I have an idea.
I love it.
So it's fine.
I was gonna challenge you.
Yeah, I funnily enough, my initial answer actually didn't answer my question and answered Strat's question. So this bit's all gone.
We broke it, team.
Hey. Right. No, it's okay. I'm working. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Well, here's the deal. First, I'm going to have the scene with your suitor here, Mrs. Straya. This woman, this elegant woman, wearing a gown that matches her. It's her signature color, sapphire. It's a sapphire gown. And she graciously extends her hand to help you up into the carriage. What are you wearing, Mrs. Straya?
I have a olive green velvet gown with a matching bag, and I've elected to not wear full opera gloves, but I'm wearing these lace gloves, and I have lace collar that sits quite high. Wonder where I got that idea from. And a lot of rings with large stones, like cocktail rings.
Fantastic. This woman, she says, "What a lovely shade of green, Mrs. Straya. It almost compares to the color of your eyes."
But not quite.
Not quite. My name is Theodora Brathwaite. She introduces herself.
Brathwaite.
My name is Theodora Brathwaite. I am a longtime admirer of you and of Hargrave House, in fact. And when I had this extra opera ticket, I couldn't think of anyone else I'd rather give it to more.
Well, that's terribly kind of you. I have to say, I haven't heard of the Brathwaites at all. How long have you been in London?
We actually don't live in London. I have a manor out in the country, Brathwaite Hall. That's where I like to spend most of my days. But I have had occasion to come to the city quite a bit lately. You'll have to come out to Brathwaite Hall sometime. It's magnificent. not nearly as cosmopolitan or filled with so much life as you're probably accustomed to, but it is unparalleled in natural beauty.
I'm sure.
And she says, I hope your colleagues aren't expecting you back anytime soon. I have quite an evening of entertainment planned for us.
I would not worry about that. I am not kept under curfew. I am my own woman.
Indeed you are. You are the woman, some might say.
You're too kind.
And the carriage drives off. Fast forwarding a little bit, no sign of Mrs. Straya. I don't think she's going to make it back in time for the negotiation, gang.
Amazing. Yeah, it's like 1 minute past midnight. We're all there, foot tapping. Can't believe it.
She was not there to be gathered up at the appointed time. She is not at Violet Thorne's house. Who knows? I'm sure having a fabulous time with Ms. Brathwaite, who is, by the way, the richest woman after the Queen in Great Britain.
So we could have gone to the opera house to grab her and pull her out, but she would not have been there.
I don't know. What do you think, Mrs. Straya? Mrs. Straya, you might even be aware of them being there to pick you up. And Ms. Brathwaite would just lean over and say, this is while you're having a drink on a balcony. You don't want to be bothered with all that tonight, do you?
No, I'm fine where I am.
So no.
Poor Grance's just outside waiting.
In the rain.
Yeah, umbrella.
I would maybe like to suggest a tweak to that Granson is perhaps not, if you would go with it, that Rose would have said to the two of you, all right, well, why don't you both go and make your way over to the Thorne residence? Here's the address. You can take the carriage. I'll just take one of the horses and go and grab Mrs. Straya and meet you there, if she's being a fuss about it.
Rather you than me.
Should you need us, Miss Fletcher, let us know.
I'll let you know.
Mr. Hart and Granson, you will actually arrive at Ms. Thorne's townhouse right at the same time as Sylvia Belrose. She is coming up the walk, and she doesn't have any reason to know who the two of you are because you were not at the party last night. But when she sees that you're about to go up the same garden, she says, oh, are you here for the little gathering with Ms. Beaumont?
Yes, we have business with her this evening.
Oh, well. And then she kind of takes your arm, Mr. Hart, and she says, you can be my date.
That's pretty much all you get.
Yeah. I give him a couple of steps before following behind.
She passes her bag back to you, Grandson.
Okay.
Do you just ring the doorbell, or how do you approach this?
Yes, we'll just ring the doorbell. Let's get in.
The door just opens. It's unclear who opened it. There's just a black, darkened hallway and a faint green light at the end of it. Let's go back to the cult of the pig. Helen, Mock demands a sacrifice of status. What does the cult offer him? Describe the manner of the offering.
The sacrifice of status comes in the form of public humiliation, conventional forms, and there is some flexibility, can be taken being at society events and causing disruption, say by even if it's just releasing a really high-pitched scream, going completely silent and just leaving at a really high status event. And there'll be 3 or 4 people that have agreed to do that at the same event. So it will draw attention to a strangeness, and this odd behavior will just remain known in high society.
Indeed. Theodora Brathwaite is looking down at the sidewalk from this balcony, and she says, "It looks like one of your colleagues has decided to stay back. She's a very interesting one, Miss Fletcher. What do you make of her?"
I've been hearing a lot lately that she's very interesting.
Well, Americans are naturally interesting, aren't they?
It depends who you ask. If we could call her up, if you'd like to meet her.
I think I would. She's not exactly dressed for the occasion, but people don't usually argue with me about such things.
I'm sure that you will see that there is absolutely nothing to make a fuss about. And I will have anybody, a member of staff, Jonathan could be around, who knows, somebody go down and communicate the message to Rose in the street that she's been summoned.
I'd like to tweak this slightly in that someone can come out to tell Rose that she's been summoned, but she's been checking the time on a pocket watch and has put it in and is storming into the building already. As a servant comes up and she's like, "I'm sorry, I need to see Miss Estrella immediately."
Indeed. Jonathan will say, we'll lead you up. Always on hand, our Jonathan.
I love him.
He's taking you, that way, and he kind of takes you up so to get up to where they're at, you have to kind of go up this very tight these tight short flights of stairs, right? Very narrow and short, to get up to this balcony area where they are. It's kind of a private part, up above the kind of looking out the main stage, and it looks out into the main stage and also looks out to the street. But as he's taking you up, he says, he's kind of going on, "How do you know Ms. Estrella?"
"We're real good friends."
She's wonderful, isn't she?
Just the most delightful person.
I mean, really, we're all very lucky to be able to just sort of
just to bask in her presence is a gift every day.
Right. And these are tight turns, and he goes around one tight turn going up the stairs and stops. And you just hear him say, "Pardon me." And then you hear,
"Jonathan."
And he just slumps back to where you can see him, and he has needles sticking out of his eyeballs and thread closing up his mouth. And then you hear a sound of the Sister Sindula's dress dragging down the steps. Meanwhile,
I'm assuming we are nowhere. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Goodbye.
Cut someone else, it's fine.
Mr. Hart, grandson, the door has opened for you. Dark hallway, green light. What do you do? Sylvia Belrose actually doesn't seem as nervous as you might imagine.
This isn't what I'd expect to find, and yet here you are ready to walk into this. Is this normal for this abode?
Ms. Beaumont's very eccentric.
I see. Grandson, keep an eye, would you?
Indeed.
Madam, you know this house. Perhaps you could direct us to the lady of the house's drawing room.
Well, yes, of course. And as you step inside, Violet Thorne, who Sylvia knows, but you two have never met, but out of character, it's Violet Thorne, an older woman wearing a very, very fashionable, sort of fashionable red gown. She comes crawling down the hall on all fours. She's being operated by what appear to be silver threads like marionette strings. And she looks up, and spiders just dribble out of her mouth and eye sockets. Sylvia screams and runs. And Violet Thorne's, her mouth doesn't move, but she speaks. As she speaks, spiders just spill out. And she speaks in the voice of Hazel Beaumont. "I'm glad you got my message, Mr. Hart. Please,
Yes.
Come in.
Leads the way.
Our final stop at the cult of the pig. Strat. Mock demands a sacrifice of flesh. What does the cult offer him?
I'm going to go pretty grotesque with this.
Please do.
So they will offer him up a flesh sacrifice. A human who is mutilated to take on the form of a pig. So they start by slicing off the ears and shaving the head, slicing off ears, and just putting the ears on top of the head in the shape of a pig. They will just slice down the front of the nose to leave it flattened like a pig's snout. And then finally, the thing that will generally do in this person as the sacrifice, they will get 2 tusks of a boar and they put them down and out through the bottom of the sacrifice's neck and present this avatar of a pig amongst the gore and viscera of the horrible place they live. I don't like it.
Wild Rose, I'm going to let you confront the last Sister Syndulla with vitality, since you know their deal pretty well at this point. And that means you're at advantage, but you're at disadvantage because of marked, and so it just flattens out to be a flat roll.
Flat roll, okay.
Or 2 dice instead of no advantage or disadvantage. But what do you do right now?
I don't really want to fire my gun because we're in a public place. I kind of don't really want to disturb the opera if I can help it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try and grab the threads that are attached to Jonathan and pull on them. I roll my dice.
Well, let's set stakes first.
Oh yes, sorry, yes.
What's the worst that could happen right now, or what are you scared could happen, or what is there's exact text here.
Yeah.
Something like what? But name what you're afraid will happen if you fail, or if you fail. Yeah.
I mean, there's the I will be dead, but also there's the don't want to cause a panic and a stampede and cause extra collateral damage.
That is pretty bad. It's worse than that. I think in the ensuing stampede, Theodore Brathwaite will take the opportunity to steal something very valuable from Mrs. Straya. What that is, who knows? If you fail, we'll figure it out.
Do I care?
Grandson,
yes, I'm
may
sure I
care.
do. I'm sure I do. All right. I rolled 2 6s. I'm gonna try and pull it out. I'm not.
Whoa, clutch play.
Narrative dice.
Dispatch the Sister Syndulla with extreme prejudice, if you wish.
Yeah, amazing. I think the slight the cursed plant beast inside just sort of flashes in just a tiny bit. So she reaches out, grabs the threads and does a yank, and at the same time, kind of, because she'd been kneeling down to look at Jonathan, she sort of springs up, and because these corridors are quite narrow, does a sort of half wall jump, kicks off to wrap the strings around the sister, and completely like take her down to the floor, and is able to ram her elbow straight into where the throat would be. And there's just that extra little element of her own spikes that just sort of down into the throat of the sister and retreat back into Rose's elbow. And then she immediately gets up and backs away from the inevitable like puddle of spiders.
Good, I love it. You can clear the condition marked by the Sister Syndulla.
Yeah.
Ooh. Meanwhile, on the balcony, unaware of all of this, Theodore Brathwaite says, she's kind of looking in your eyes, Mrs. Straya, and she says, I've just had a wonderful idea.
Pray tell.
A ball, a grand ball, thrown in your honor at Brathwaite Hall. 2 weeks from today. I was thinking a Mediterranean theme. Greek myth, even. What do you say?
It sounds fabulous.
Good. Do extend an invitation to Mr. Hart and Miss Fletcher. I think they will like very much the amusements that I have already got spinning about in my head.
Are you sure? They are incredibly grubby.
Well,
I please burst into the room as she says that.
she says, we'll be in the country. We'll all be roughing it a bit.
I would like to be holding a glass of some kind, and as I spot Rose, endeavour to be tapping the rim of the glass and catching her eye.
Is this a signal that we've pre-established?
I am trying to communicate with you that I think that there is something in what I'm drinking and what you could be offered.
Right, okay. Rose is like, yeah, sure, I don't care. Is going to just storm right over to you. Well, we'll clock it, but that's not the priority. She's not here to schmooze. It's going to storm right up to you, grab your arm, and say, we got to go now. We've had word your uncle is very sick.
I am going to slap you hard around the face with the back of my hand, with my other hand.
Oh.
For 12 damage. No, you see, I don't understand these games. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm dead.
You should take 12 damage.
Ms. Brathwaite says, well, this has certainly gotten more interesting.
Please, do excuse us just a moment. Ms. Estrella, it's time to go now.
Ms. Estrella, you may go. I got what I came for. I hope you will enjoy what I have planned for us out in the country.
Well, thank you very much. I think perhaps I should get this absolute oath out of public.
Yes, please do. Hide me away.
Yeah, I think there's probably other people on this grand balcony, and they're like, it's a whole hubbub, when this, this little outburst takes place.
She's really fond of her uncle. She doesn't like to hear bad things about him.
Mr. Hart and grandson, this marionette Violet Thorn jerkily stands up and opens the door into the salon, where you see a woman draped in layers and layers of fabric veils, her red eyes just gleaming out of the veil. She's sitting on this little chaise. She says, all right then, make your offer.
Let me start by saying it is taking every single ounce of will I have not to leap forward and stab you in each and every one of your ruby eyes.
I know that very well, Mr. Hart. The reputation of your family is well known in the Fey courts.
I also tell you this to let you know that I am offering you the same level of restraint I believe you have offered me.
Indeed.
We stand here as equals in this negotiation, I fear.
Well, this is a relative term, I suppose. We are equals in the sense that either of us, with the flick of a wrist, could probably strike the other dead. I, on the other hand, am a Fey noble. You, while you come from a storied lineage, are nevertheless a common man.
Perhaps. But also remember, you wish to join our society, our realm. You may be a Fey noble, but to all here, you are but a shopkeeper.
Indeed.
And while the trappings of Savile Row may feel close to the high echelons of society, I must warn you, if you choose to join us in this role, you can be cut free very quickly. Tastes change. So be sure you know what you want before we make this deal.
Yes. I certainly did not foresee myself in a life of customer service. This is true. But I value the feel of this place. It has a grounded quality that one cannot find where I come from. The people here are warmer. The rain is colder. The smell is more piquant. And I am somewhat on the run as well. There's that minor matter. What is the nature of our arrangement?
These are the terms. My valet here, Granson, is an absolute genius when it comes to procuring things that are needed. I believe you are lacking in certain items to keep you shrouded and uphold the glamour you wish to maintain to appear in our society. I am happy to extend her services to deliver adequate amounts on a regular basis to keep your appearance in check. In return, I wish two things from you. One, and this I look at the marionette, no more of this. This is not humanity. This is not what people in a society do to other members of their society. I can understand why you're in Fae. They may feel small, brief lives not worth your attention. But if you're to be part of the society, you will respect them.
Noted.
And secondly, I want you to answer me a question. I want to know how you found the courage to leave your life behind.
I am happy to provide that answer, and I think it is a story told over many, many evening drinks in the future, Mr. Hart. But you shall know it, you shall hear it. The deal is made.
Very well. Granson, maybe as a show of faith, the first delivery can be arranged for tomorrow.
Have it as the sun rises.
Granson, you will notice for the first time that there are other people in the room on the fringes.
I did wonder.
Watching. One of them is the man in the sun mask, and he gives you a little appreciative nod. And that will conclude the night phase. The threat is resolved. Congratulations.
Woohoo!
I didn't get to recklessly drag Eve onto a horse and ride over.
Oh, but I see that. That definitely happened.
Get on the horse,
Do you need any
Eva.
help? What happened?
Gotta go.
Let's head over to the dawn phase and get this little two-shot wrapped up. Okay, rewards. Okay, so actually this is a thing. You get rewards now that you have resolved a threat. I'll just put I'm going to drop in the chat a little picture of the rewards and you all can choose them. But I will read them aloud for people watching the stream. Each thing can be chosen once by one of you. Your options are a flawless suit or gown, somehow perfectly tailored to your measurements, add it to your personal quarters. Sir Richard's silver-rimmed monocle allows the wearer to see through a disguise or spot a hidden clue, add it to your personal quarters. A music box, inscribed Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. However, the tune it plays is unrecognizable, causing strange dreams and delirious visions, add it to your personal quarters. A Venetian mask painted with crescent moons and stars. The world appears more colorful through its eyes, but may cause temporary blindness if worn too long. Add it to your personal quarters. Who's taking what?
I would like the mask, please. Everything's very dull for Eve. So this seems like an improvement.
I'd like a flawless suit. There's an inkling of moving away from what Jonas was always told he had to be in that. Maybe there is something else out there.
Jonas, I think I'd like for you to take an O also, since you chose a peaceful route to deal with Ms. Beaumont. An O in your hunt. Wild Rose, what are you going to take? Monocle? This seems like a fun affectation.
I was actually tempted by the music box. You know,
Go for it.
Unless Grandson particularly wants it, I wondered if it.
The hunters go first. I think you'll find.
Yeah, I think there's something about it that reminds her of her childhood, but the fact that it plays an unrecognizable weird tune makes her go, "Oh, all right."
Definitely a great combo with whatever else she's got going on.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll be absolutely fine.
Absolutely nothing to worry about.
Do with a few more visions.
I will then sidle in and just palm the monocle and put that into my bag. Yeah.
Nice.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, that's the first part of the Dawn phase. Next is answering Dawn questions. So now everyone gets credit for the first two. So you will be able to mark an XP. When I'm looking at the thing, Wild Rose, you should have an XP from last time. There we go. And so now we'll go to, did you get an echo in the night, Wild Rose Fletcher?
I don't think this time around, not one intentionally at least.
Yeah. Did you encourage a fellow hunter to let loose for a change?
Well, I was going to, but the night ended so quickly. Well, this is what I was angling for, was getting Eve to ride on the horse instead of take a carriage.
Oh, I'll give you credit for it, since that was the plan. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Did you use violence to solve a problem? Yes, you did.
Heck yeah, I did.
So you got 4 of your XP. That actually is enough to get you to advance. So congratulations. All right, let's go over to Grandson. Grandson, did you get an echo in the night?
I don't think so, because I didn't have a question to answer about the echo. I helped with the world building, but I don't think there was anything on that front.
Did you ensure your employer got credit for your triumphs? I think you kind of did, because you let Mr. Hart really take point on all the stuff with Ms. Beaumont. I think that is probably...
Of course, of course.
Did you engage in a petty reprisal of someone who angered them?
I'm going to say not really, but I can definitely see in future with Brave Right that will. I think I'm building it up. It's a slow burn on that one, I think. But but I forever see it just forever shutting the door in their face and not letting them in.
Super petty.
Yes, exactly. But yes, I don't. I think it's just those just that first one.
All right then. So you got 3 XP that game. Mrs. Estrella, did you get an echo in the night?
I don't think I did.
What was your sacrifice?
I think you were holding a goblet full of wine.
Oh, and blood. Yeah.
And I thought, because you introduced the screaming element, I definitely thought like, well, opera has screaming, but maybe that's a different thing. But there definitely was other screams going on though. Like for us, there was the our companion screamed and ran as well from the house, which was established as well.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. The wine thing really sticks out to me, because it kind of followed up right after like this like bloody scene. Echoes of the night don't have to be intentional; they just have to happen. Did you let someone touch you and then make them pay a price for doing so? That happened.
No, I don't think it did.
I would say you let Rose slap.
Slapped Rose. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but I don't know if I let Rose touch me and then made her pay for it. I think.
See, that's the thing. That's
a consent thing. You have to
yeah. However, did you express a clear preference for the beautiful over the men? Yes, you did. You went with Theodora in her big carriage to the opera instead of doing the job.
Why would I go here?
I know. Like, why did I do this? Why go to this? Yeah. I love it. All right. Jonas Hart. Jonas, you definitely got an echo because you did the tusks coming through the head and then the needles coming through the eyes. Did you loudly curse your family's name?
No, not really.
Oh, you said it in the carriage with me.
That's true. I wasn't happy with the family.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to. It wasn't a cursing, I'd say.
Yeah. Did you taste someone or something else's blood, sweat, or other bodily fluids today?
That's why he did it.
Yeah.
It was a good day.
I was wondering about that too. I didn't realize you had it as a Dawn question, but now it makes sense.
It makes total sense now. We're like, oh.
Yeah, it's good.
Mhm.
All right, let's keep going.
I'm sorry, Jason.
Well-
Can I go back? I think I got 4 check marks next to my Dawn questions, and I believe I got 2 XP yesterday.
Right.
So can I?
Yeah, you're going to advance. Yeah, so you'll clear them. You'll have 1 left over, and then you mark an advancement in the box that's right below that.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a couple of you advanced. Mr. Hart did, and so did Wild Rose. You're 1 away, Grandson. So, Janus Mask prompts. Does anybody? I think a couple of people have marked them and maybe have not narrated yet. So,
Yes.
does anybody know that? I know. Nat combined a couple of hers.
Yeah, I've got 1, but I'm happy for someone else to go first if they wish to.
Okay.
Is it just me and you?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay,
I think so.
Yes.
Also,
me, yeah.
just as a little note, if you answer a Dawn question with your Janus Mask prompt right now, you get credit for it. So, if you can work that in.
Okay.
If you didn't get it before, this is your last shot to get credit for it.
It's quite late where we are just now, so we're like, oh no, more working things in.
So my flashback is narrator flashback to your early teenage years where you tried to live a normal life, but a family member put you in your place. So I think this happens when Jonas was maybe 14, 15, and was in one of the smaller rooms of the house with a window that looks out over sort of like a flat roof, part of the sprawling weirdness of the house. And he is woken early in the morning by a really loud bang against the window pane, and he is straight out of bed on his toes, fighting stance as has been drilled into him, and looks out of the window and sees that a crow has hit the window in the morning light and fallen down on the flat roof. And in that moment, he just has this desire to help it. And over the next few days, kind of secretly in his room, he kind of takes food for his dinner and feeds it and tries to build up its strength so that it might kind of fly away and live. And he names it Gregory, and it for those few days is this little friend that perhaps he's never been able to have. And one day he's just as it's kind of gaining its strength, and he's kind of talking to it and saying, "You'll be able to fly away here soon, which will be sad, but it'll be good because you'll be okay again." And he's foolishly left his door open, and there's quite a few of the family still alive at this point. So let's say his uncle walks past and sees this scene of this little boy, this crow, and he strides in and grabs the crow roughly and looks at Jonas and says, "A heart has no attachments," and just wrings the bird's neck and walks off. And all that Jonas does that night is cry and sob and curse his family's name.
Well, who wants to follow that?
Yeah. Oh, I should have gone first. No, it's fine. I'll go next. So my one is narrate a flashback to your young adulthood before you were a servant that shows what a charmed life you led or lived. So the scene sort of pulls away to a long street in London, and it's sort of, there's people outside on Hanson carts, people arm in arm going about. It's like a beautiful spring day, and we go straight into a bookshop. And these bookshops, beautiful leather bound stuff, quite musky, with the floorboards creaking underfoot. The shelves are lined all the way through, floor to ceiling, all these different tomes, all first editions. Also they say there's a gentleman at the desk with little glasses on, looking through stuff. But towards the back, you see there is what would be normally like little reading nooks, essentially, and there's one that is fully taken up by Granson, and she's surrounded by all these different books. And what this sort of bookshop does, it allows people to rent out space, like a library, you know, it's a little book nook essentially. And she's paid for the whole day, which is quite a hefty price. And she's reading through all these different tomes, books on botany, books on physics, and all that sort of. Firstly, quite in depth and deep. Quite a lot of people, have lower literacy skills in general, but she's racing through them, like taking in all this knowledge and enjoying, just learning about the natural world and all these sort of things, stuff that she would normally not have access to. And eventually she sees the time and starts packing the books away. And then before she leaves, she drops another couple of coins as a tip to the person and says, "I'll see you again tomorrow." And then heads on out to the bell, dingling as the door shuts.
Very good. Does anyone have any unresolved Janus Mask prompts? Okay.
Yeah, go on,
Eve.
Eve.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no, so I'm worried I've picked the wrong thing now. I wanted to gaze on the masterwork in an attempt to uncover something hidden in the world. I have to roll with sensitivity.
Well, let me check which mask this is. Which one is it?
It's the future.
The one, yeah.
Oh, the Cosmic Passage. Oh, you don't have to do anything. It's just a new thing you can do now. That's all. So, like, if we were to keep playing in the future, you could do this. You could go to your masterwork and consult it. But you can show us what that looks like. Yeah.
Oh, I wanted a clue about the mastermind.
Oh.
That's it.
A future session.
Oh,
a clue about a mastermind for which I may never learn anymore. But never mind. Okay. Sorry, I should have narrated a thing, but I wasn't ready.
That's a cool mechanic, though. So you've got your mask and you get moves. That's awesome.
I love that.
That is it. So we're way over time, but very fun. Let's go ahead and do stars and wishes for not just today, but yesterday and today as well, if you wish. As many stars and wishes as you want, or just talk generally about how things went and how you're feeling. I will start off though and say that I feel like in 2 sessions we just got to learn so much about these characters and in a really cool way and in a really deep, rich, detail-rich, sensory, detail-rich way. It's almost like I wrote the game to do that, and it worked well. So I'm very happy about that. But no, you all did a really splendid job. I mean, like I thought everyone did a really, really great job with their characters and their characterizations, and kind of every character kind of had their own, like, this is the way it goes in Hargrave House. Every character kind of has their own beat, their own sort of like little niche, their own way of being. And they truly are like, it's an odd couple situation with everyone, right? Like they're all like so different from each other. And the only thing that unifies them is they are all, for some reason, which never really gets explained with a lot of clarity until the very end of their Mask of the Past, they're all kind of there at Hargrave House, right? No one knows who funds Hargrave House. No one knows why this is your remit. It just is. But within that sort of like gray space, we got to see so much of these characters and learn so much about them. I thought all the Janus Mask prompts were really, the narrations were really terrific today. I was doing my best to try to satisfy the wishes from yesterday with like fights and different things. And so I hope that came through. And in this context, wishes, I guess, are just like, if the story were to continue, what would we hope to see, right? But and I would say that I really would like to see, I really do want to see if you all go to a country manor party at Brathwaite Hall, if that actually happens.
Yeah.
where Eve is like the star of the show. Like it all just sounds like such a very like heightened thing to do. I would also hope that certain characters that were in the Spider Silk Seamstress would have like a recurring, like they would show up again. Like I would like to see Sylvia Belrose again. I would like to see Horn Blackwood again. He's very fun to play. Yeah, so those are my stars and wishes. But overall, just all around, great job.
One of my stars is definitely the relationship between Eve and Rose. That was marvelous. Thank you for that. I love watching that. That was really, really great.
Love you, Helen.
And also, Jason, you played the tempting Eve away from everything and offering her just the right amount of stuff, just the right amount of praise. Like that would have been, if I was playing Eve, I would have felt it impossible not to do whatever you wanted me to do at that point, because I think you must have hit all the characters' buttons. Like, well done to playing someone's ego. That was amazing. And also, like, just starring, just the way the system works and the focus it puts on the characters and the backstory, but like how you've designed it to pace that stuff out is really, really great. And like preventing, like the fact that it's in the rules to not until you do something, not until you earn it, I think is just a really nice touch. It's wonderful to play, so thank you for that. And in terms of which is, definitely, I'm 100% with you, going to the house and seeing what that's all about. That is wonderful. And definitely Jonas wants to hunt down a vampire, and I would definitely wish to see if it has, and I would hope that it would have had some link to his first hunt and a portion of his childhood trauma, because he's got a lot of stuff to work through as Jonas. I mean, just it was wonderful to play. Can't believe we did so much in 2 sessions.
Agreed.
I think my wish is along the same. Being able to see Brathwaite House and do some vampire chasing sounds like it would be terrific. Stars, there aren't enough stars. I feel so emotional. Like, this is quite far out of my comfort zone in a lot of ways. And I have felt very safe in this group that I can see on Zoom, but also with the folks in the chat over on Twitch. And that's really nice when I'm doing something that I have personal reasons for trying to get out of my comfort zone. So it's really nice to do that and enjoy it, and I have. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yay. My stars to everyone. I had a really good time. I thought there was some beautiful role play moments that I really enjoyed. Especially all of the back and forth between Eve and Rose were great. And there was some fantastic moments with Jonas and Granson that I was like, that's my wish. Yes, the vampire hunting. Yes, the ball is if we get to play in the future. And I feel like I shot myself in the foot a little bit with it, because I was like, I want to try and gallop across London on horseback with Eve being grumpy. So,
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
well, exactly. But yeah, I had a chance to do more scenes and get into the weeds of the roleplay a bit more with Jonas and with Granson as well.
That's my fault. I mean, it's me and it's Eve's fault, but it's both of us.
No, it's not. It's
just
mine.
going above my now.
No, because I could have just as easily been like, oh, well, sod her then. I'll go. She can look after herself. God. Yeah, so if we play again, we'd love to have more scenes focusing on that. And especially, I want to see more of Granson when she is not in the servant role. Like those scenes with the sun masked man were brilliant. So.
Brilliant. Well, I'll go at the end. Hello, everyone. Oh my God, yeah, Panto Fiona over here going every time. I think one key moment for obviously we complimented your GMing style so much, Jason, but the lady marionette, first of all, crawling on the floor and then coming up. That it's a proper trope for me. I love creepy marionettes. So I was like, oh my God, I'm in, but also I'm out. It was so, because stupidly, I hadn't even considered, oh yeah, spiders, oh yeah, they've been fed. I didn't even think of that horrible, the twitching movement and stuff. And I just felt that was such a cool sort of a cool show of strength, or like a show from the big boss as we were going in, and I was like, oh god, that could have been us. So I just love the detail of that. Obviously getting rid of the NPC very quickly, which is great. So we're like, okay, what are we doing, Mr. Hart? Are we going in? Because I don't want to go in. But yeah, I also really loved the roleplay modes. I mean, I have to compliment you, Helen, on how like I appreciate, I know he's getting out your comfort zone, but my god, so many of your reactions felt so genuine and so like it like, oh well, you know, and just dealing with people who irritate you and just deal them with the offhand way. I want to bring that energy into all of my day meetings from now on. I plan to do that. And yeah, just working with this whole team and seeing the little details, like Rose just dispatching these horrible creatures with needles, just like, wow, amazing. And then Hart just testing out and just looking over his body, like putting, you know, graphically describing the sort of tasting of the blood and stuff, and we're all there going, oh, I wouldn't do that. So it just, I just thank you so much for putting so much of yourselves into this and just leaning into it, because I love horror and I love this sort of trophy stuff, and I just think it worked well. And yeah, my wish would be, again, I could see this, I already see it as like a Netflix series. I know it is inspired by Penny Dreadfuls, but like I could see all these things so vividly, and how, again, another compliment to you, Jason, this system that's sort of leaving back that backstory, so you're not just like, here's all the stuff straight away. That drip feeding just makes it so interesting, and I can see it going on and on and on, and then eventually at the end you're like, oh, so when you did this in session 1, or it makes sense now. And it really helped me define something grandson, because I was like, oh, I wanted to be a doctor, but oh, she's learned, and it opened up so much more with the drip feeding of stuff. And my final star, I'm going on a bit, but that vulnerable moment we did with Jonas, because I was like, oh, what do I ask? And then
it was really good.
I was stunned by your answer, Strat. Like, I just thought it was so good and so interesting. So yeah, absolute kudos. Yeah, that's all. That's everything.
Yeah, I'll just say again that, like, just some general thoughts for real quick. I really enjoyed like certain aspects of the playbook. I think you all were able to sort of like get kind of came out, which I think is really great, and obviously get explored more if you play more. But I think like the factotum is like this like character who's like subservient to this other character. But if you look at them like nuts and bolts on the page, they are mechanically the most powerful character. They have like all of their moves are the best, and they do all the most effective things. And that comes out in the story because this like kind of mild-mannered, like in the shadows character who never takes credit for what they do, they're kind of like the quiet hero in a lot of ways. And I think we got a lot of that with Grandson, right? The Undeniable, which is who Helen played, that's my favorite of the playbooks. Of the ones that I wrote, it is my absolute favorite. I think when you read it, you can see the love and attention that went into that playbook, because I love it so much. And I think the way you played it, Helen, was terrific, and I was trying to like give my love for that playbook to your version of it as we were playing. Like, you know, you have the attention of the mastermind, you've got the attention of all these people, right? Even the idea of like challenging the Undeniable to like kind of playfully like show like people not focusing on her, you know, like that is all like part of that, right? And so I thought that all came out really great. I really liked Eve a lot. And I thought Wild Rose was terrific too. Like there was this, we started to get this really like the thing about the American as a playbook is that they're a fraud, right? Like they are a fraud. They are not what they put out in the world. And so when you get to kind of like unpeel those layers and see that, especially as you get deeper into that playbook, it becomes like really, really the moment, which I, you know, maybe someday in the future we'll get to see, but which I really hope we get to see, you know, or if you don't get to see it with this game in the future, someone, you know, you do, there's this moment in the Mask of the Past where you have to basically talk about when the American hurt someone because of the curse. And like, that is like the really defining moment of that playbook. And I can already tell like where you were building with that, you know? So I thought that was really, really terrific. And the legacy is terrific. I did not write the legacy. I had a big hand in its development, but I wasn't the original originator of it. But this was a really, really, like, I feel like just in our short period of time, you did a really great job, Strat, of creating a lore for the hearts, right? Because that's really what it's all about. That playbook's all about the family, right? And this idea of trauma, right? Childhood trauma. It came through great today and yesterday, especially today. Although yesterday you did have to murder a child vampire also, so I guess it's the hearts are bad all the way around. But anyway, just some playbook thoughts, I guess, there at the end. Everyone did. I hope you all see like how it develops and where it could go. You know,
100%.
Yeah, but I think that's all I've got.
Brilliant. I'll take the reins back from you. Thank you so much. Honestly, Jason, just a massive round of applause, and I'm sure the love in the chat if you're still here with us. The What Am I Rolling podcast was created, recorded, and edited by me, Fiona Howard. This episode's players were Nat, Strat, and Helen, some of the cast members from the Merely Roleplayers podcast, and me, Fiona. This episode's special guest GM was Jason Cordova, the creator of Brindlewood Bay, The Between, and Public Access. This episode's RPG was The Between, a tabletop role-playing game about a group of mysterious monster hunters in Victoria-era London. You can find out more information about The Between and get your own copy on the Gauntlet website. That's www.gauntlet-rpg.com. The theme music was 8-Bit March by Twin Musicon of twinmusicon.org, licensed under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. If you want to find out more about the podcast, check out the website. That's www.wairpodcast.com. Fancy getting in touch? Email the podcast at whatamirollingpodcast@gmail.com. Finally, follow the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at WAIR_podcast for the latest news on upcoming episodes. We also now have a Discord, which is very exciting, so find the link to that in the episode show notes. And remember, adventurers need not apply.